one nation can or should try to dominate another nation. No world order that elevates one nation or group of people over another will succeed.
Al-Qaeda's on the run.
Al-Qaeda's on the run.
Al-Qaeda is on the run.
We possess all the qualities that this world without boundaries demands.
If a JV team puts on Lakers uniforms, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant.
I wasn't specifically referring to ISIL.
Don't you love it, folks? Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Steve Malzberg Show. And we are joined right now by Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter, deputy editorial page director of the Wall Street Journal, and Fox News contributor Daniel Henninger. Hello, Daniel.
How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well, thank you. Your great piece in the Journal, of course, and it is called "The Humbling of a President." And you talk about a story from I think it was David Plouffe's account of the '08 election. You quote from him saying, it was called "The Audacity to Win," and you talk about what he writes, and that is that Obama once said that he could, everybody that was working in the campaign at the highest levels, he could do their jobs better than they could if he were assigned to do them. In other words, he's better than everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then in a 2008 New Yorker article, he was quoted as telling yet another aide, "I know more about policies on any particular issue than my policy directors."
Doesn't speak well of his policy directors, does it?
No, not at all. But, Management 101, anybody can tell you is you hire people who are smarter than you are. The thing that was striking last week about that, though, before this speech he gave from a hallway of the White House about going after ISIS, is that the press was full of stories, including the New York Times, about all of the bad calls that this smartest guy in the room had made, both on, when you were just quoting, the war on terror is over, but also the bad decisions he made, such as drawing a red line in the sand over Syria and Bashar Assad, and then pulling back, which kind of unleashed all of this. So it was made clear that Obama, being his own national security advisor, his own Secretary of State, his own Secretary of Defense, ain't doing a very good job. And you would have expected that any normal person would be humbled by that, facing what ISIS has been doing. And the question is, has Barack Obama, does he get it? Does he understand that he cannot do everything?
Well, I would say the answer to that is no. But we know he's far from being one of the guys. He's distanced himself from certainly even his own party and his party leaders in Congress. So I wonder what his relationship is with others. We heard a report last week, the end of last week, that his top general in the Middle East said you need special ops forces on the ground, you need others on the ground, and he told them no. So, here again, he's General Obama. And if you go back even, Daniel, to when all those women, campaign stop after campaign stop, speech after speech, always he saw a woman fainting, which I don't believe. But nonetheless, he always knew what was wrong with them. Oh, and I used to play a montage a lot, and it was always different. Oh, she probably didn't eat breakfast. She'll be all right. Oh, she probably is a little hot. She'll be all right. Oh, she's probably been standing too long. She'll be all right. He's a doctor. He's an expert. He's a general. He's everything.
Well, I think most of all what he is a classic egotist. People say narcissist. That may be true, but, there are a lot of people. The fitness gyms of America are full of narcissists, but a lot of them are kind of congenial people. Obama is just so self-directed and so almost in a delusional way intent on believing his own opinion about everything that it is impossible for any one human being, much less a president of the United States, to be right about everything. And we're now engaged in a battle with a broad-based terrorist, I would not go so far as to call it a coalition, but a network that extends way beyond ISIS in Iraq. You've got Boko Haram in northern Nigeria, and the Al-Qaeda on the Arab Peninsula, Yemen. I mean, that was one of the most amazing things of all, that in that talk he
touted Yemen and Somalia.
And Yemen. I mean, our State Department in July put out a traveler's warning on Yemen that made it sound like one of the bowels of hell. No sane person would go there.
All right, so does this mean, Daniel, that he just is more detached and uninformed than we even know? I mean, he could read the speeches that are written from him, but he doesn't have a clue?
Well, I think it's a little bit. It's more than a little bit of both. That he is detached. I mean, when he talks about these things, he seems to have some grasp of the basic facts around them and the dynamics, but invariably comes to the wrong conclusions. And I think that redounds. That has implications right down the line, literally the chain of command, but also out there among these so-called partners that we're trying to enlist for our coalition, not merely in Western Europe, but also in the Middle East. He really has had no personal relationship to speak of with the leaders of any of these countries. The Saudis, of course, famously about 18 months ago, pretty much publicly announced that their 60-year alliance with the United States had come to an end.
Yep.
And now we're trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again by turning on a dime around ISIS. That's not going to be easy.
No, and by the way, I got a story here in my hand, and this is from the London Daily Mail. Just by the way, Christians, including women and children, are arrested in Saudi Arabia after a tip-off to the Islamist police force. Apparently 28 people arrested at the home of an Indian man because they were among a Christian congregation praying. So that's our good buddies, the Saudis, too.
Yeah, well, the Middle Eastern states have always been unreliable partners. And I think it would have taken a sustained effort to keep them on board well before this, rather than sending John Kerry over to put the spilled milk back in the bottle. So this is going to be, as someone once said, a long, hard slog. That was Donald Rumsfeld.
Yep.
And a lot of people are nervous about whether the president is going to sustain interest in this. You know, we've had these crises, Steve. This stuff keeps coming up. Ukraine, the shoot down of the plane over Ukraine, and these events spike in the news, and then invariably they fade a little bit. And Obama seems to go back to business as usual. And you got to wonder whether the same thing is going to happen in northern Iraq with ISIS, notwithstanding the awful things that they do. If his interest wanes, it's going to be a bad show over there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know what he said over the on that speech as well, during that speech, talking about how ISIL, as he put it, is not Islamic. And his reason for that, his reasoning was no religion would condone the killing of civilians. Well, I've said this before on this show, and I'll keep saying it. First of all, if you don't know your enemy, if you're not willing to describe your enemy, and if you don't realize what motivates them, then you're doomed to not be able to defeat that enemy. And of course, ISIL is Islamic, because by his logic that no religion condones the killing of innocents, then Al-Qaeda is not Islamic, Islamic Jihad's not Islamic, Hamas, Hezbollah, right on down the list. And, you know, these people who are doing it in the name of their God, these people who are interpreting their religion to say jihad and cutting off the heads and converting it to sword and everything else and a caliphate and Sharia law, these people are practicing what they believe Islam is to them. Just like, and I'm not making there's no violent analogy, thank God, Jews, there's liberal Jews, there's conservative Jews, there's Reform Jews, there's Orthodox Jews, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds of Christianity. Yeah. This is a form of Islam.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very strange statement. But Obama is prone to those kinds of statements. I don't know whether you noticed this remarkable thing that's in the New York Times today, a story by their White House correspondent Peter Baker, who interviewed about 10 people who had gone into the White House late last week to talk to Obama at the president's invitation, columnists, academics, foreign policy types. And one of the stories he told was about Obama saying, quote, "If I were advising ISIS," unquote, "I would have told them to simply pin notes on the front of those people saying, 'It's none of your business here, get out.'" And then Obama said if they had done that, they would not have brought all of this military firepower down on themselves.
You know, I hadn't seen that yet. Oh my gosh!
You look at that and you go, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?"
Oh my God!
If you were advising ISIL, I mean, there is just these kind of crazy, off-the-wall things that he's been saying these days that it's like the Islam statement. You've got to wonder about the coherence and consistency of his thought processes.
Yeah, and then, of course, once again, you know, going back to that theory, as he did on his Saturday address, when he talked about how if we went in with ground forces and showed our military might, basically he was saying we might offend the enemy and create more of them. I mean, we don't want to insult the enemy.
Yeah. Well, if there's a silver lining here, I guess it would be that, you know, he did announce that they will go into Syria if necessary. And to some extent, he has green-lighted the military planners in the Pentagon. And I do have a fair amount of confidence in their ability. I mean, they've done a pretty good job with these limited airstrikes, retaking the dam in Mosul, enabling even the Iraqi army and the Peshmerga, the Kurdish Peshmerga, to gain some ground against ISIS. And if he would simply let the military design and carry out a campaign against ISIS, I think we could push these guys backward. But the question is, will he do that?
And that takes us back to your great piece, The Humbling of a President, of course, and you consider yourself, you know, General Patton. It remains to be seen what he will let them do. Daniel, great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, good to talk to you, Steve.
Daniel Henninger, ladies and gentlemen, Wall Street Journal, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter and deputy editorial page director of the Journal. All right, and Fox News contributor. We're coming back with resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute, the AEI. You like that? Michael Rubin. Don't go away.